don't want to keep our special in-studio guests.
Is someone
waiting.
here?
Somebody is here. Somebody is here, and that somebody, you know him, you love him. It's Travis Brown of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, the man with the plan with TCU.
I never
Travis.
have a plan. What are you talking about?
Now, do you? I am interested in this. You are almost always credited as Travis L. Brown. 2 questions.
All right.
1, why? And 2, what's the L stand for?
It's a secret that I'll take to my grave. And,
Okay, I like that.
No.
Homer J. Simpson.
No, I'm going to actually throw my girlfriend under the bus again because she never can remember my middle name. She always thinks it's Lee, even though she's a huge Star Wars fan, and the new Star Wars movie's coming out.
Is
and
it
she sees
really?
It's Luke.
Luke.
Yeah, it's yeah. In case you haven't heard, I'm sorry to spoil that for you, but the new Star Wars movie's coming out.
What?
Yeah, man.
Spoiler alert.
But
Wow.
the L, no, because so my dad's name is Jack Brown, and that's like the most simple of all names. Brown is just a simple name. No one, like when I played sports all my life, I wasn't Brown. No one called you Brown. I was T Brown or whatever. And so that's just a simple name. Google searches,
Yeah.
you get your name out there.
See, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Tepper, nobody wants that name.
I don't know, man.
My wife was like, I guess I'll take your name.
But Brown, I mean, that's like
Yeah.
that's like the next step up from Smith, or
I guess. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
Of course, you are the man with the plan as far as TCU is concerned. TCU plays tonight at Amon G. Carter. They take on West Virginia. When you look at this TCU team, we've talked so much and we've heard so much about how they're getting healthier. As somebody who's watched them from day one, can you tell that they're getting healthier?
Yes, I think the pieces that they're missing that they're not going to get back are huge. So it's not going to get back to that baseline. I think that more so even than healthier, it's developing the inexperienced players that are coming in, and I can see that. I mean, even this week in the press conference, Patterson said that he's finally able to kind of use the whole of his defensive playbook, just because he was having to keep it extremely simple, extremely vanilla to get these kids who he always his line this year is kids that run for. He's had kids that are linebackers that run a 5.0 that. Play like they run a 4.5, and these kids run a 4.5, and they're playing like they run a 5.0.
Right.
And so they're kind of getting them down to where he wants them to be on that.
He needs more Tank Carters, basically.
Yeah, more Tank Carters, more just all those linebackers that are in the NFL.
Yeah, the guys who were so critical to TCU kind of getting to the status that they were before they joined the Big 12. Who on the defense, because that was the big question coming in, who on the defense has stood out to you and maybe overachieved your expectations?
I think it's got to be Traven Howard, and that's a guy that didn't even step in until the second game. I mean, he's one of those 2 linebackers that were safeties coming into the season, moved him to linebacker, and he's just shown his versatility because not only did he step in and kind of stand out as maybe the top linebacker that they have, and a guy who, as a sophomore, is calling in the plays and calling in the signals. He's the guy that
Whoa.
We're still good.
For those
Keep
listening on the
rolling.
podcast, the lights just flickered.
The lights just flickered off.
Thomas? Did you do that? Did our intern do that?
Yeah, we'll blame the
he's
intern.
just submarining
I have,
everything.
I think cross-armed
no idea
Art
what
over here
Yeah,
had something to say about
Art
that.
Briles is not pleased with this
No,
conversation.
No, but
Arms crossed, unhappy. Here go your lights.
yeah.
Sorry, man.
So,
sorry, go on.
Yeah, but no, Traven Howard's the guy. He stepped in, and then even when Denzel Johnson last week got sent off for targeting, he actually moved back to safety and was able to do what he does at safety. He plays nickel and dime in some packages for them, so he has a lot of versatility. And then Nick Orr, a guy from DeSoto from around here, is a guy that stepped in who also has a lot of versatility. They wanted him at free safety. He practiced through fall camp at both cornerback and free safety, and he had to move into cornerback with Anthony Tejada going down and whatnot, and has done a pretty decent job for the versatility and the kind of split practices he's had to have the whole season.
He's Travis Brown, Travis L. Brown. Follow him on Twitter at Travis_L_Brown. Talking TCU, West Virginia. When you look at this West Virginia team, they come in missing, in my opinion, their best player in Carl Joseph. That was a real shame as somebody who just enjoys watching good football players play good football. It was a shame to hear him go down. What does this West Virginia team look like without him, especially defensively?
Well, the most interesting thing that I see from West Virginia defensively is the fact that we're running that 3-3 kind of offense. They have the 5 defensive backs, and really looking at their offense compared to what TCU has going into theirs, it's something they've run against 5 defensive backs, and there's a lot of schools that don't run against 5 defensive backs. So I think not only is that going to help a little bit against TCU's high-powered, fast-moving offense, a lot of wide receivers, a lot of guys to cover. I think it'll help West Virginia's offense, too, going through that 5 defensive back look that a lot of schools have to adjust to a little bit when they prepare for TCU. So I think that the key in that is those 5 defensive backs, because that's not a look that either it's good for both of the offenses that are coming out there.
Offensively for TCU going into this game, is there a spot where you feel like they have an advantage over West Virginia's defense?
Josh Doxson.
Well, yeah.
I've yet to see. I've kind of been hesitant with him because I've just been waiting to see when there's that one team that would double cover him or just kind of lock him down that one game, and it hasn't happened yet, and it'll be interesting to see. I think this is one of the better defenses that TCU will face all season, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do against Josh Doxson. But especially in that last play, I've talked to some other people about this game, and what comes down to is, can West Virginia's defense – this is going to be a close game. They're all close games against West Virginia. It's going to come down in the end. Can West Virginia's defense make that one defensive stop on that one play that the ball is going to be going to Josh Doxson to pick up a 4th down or score a touchdown or something like that, and actually put the nail in the coffin? And I think West Virginia is as good of a team and a good of a defense that they could do that, but no one has proven that they can do that yet with Josh Doxson.
The Frogs have, of course, played two close for comfort games, against Kansas State, and the other one was who'd they play with their food with against?
It was the other Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. Both games very close. Came down to the wire. Came down to 4th quarter making plays.
Hey, Iowa State for 1/2, buddy.
Sorry, bud. We got our Iowa State homer over here. Is there reason for concern for TCU fans, the fact that they've had 2 close calls?
I mean, I think once you see that you have 5 defensive starters go down within the first 3 or 4 games, as far as I've been able to read the temperature, I think expectations have changed a little bit. I don't think it's that – I think that everyone is expecting them to not knowing what's going to happen, and if they squeak out of a game, they squeak out of a game because, I mean, they're running a 4-7. They don't really technically have linebackers. They have guys who are playing linebacker, but they're not going to go up against a huge back and do necessarily as well as they could be right now. So I think expectations are a little bit lower than first thought, but I don't know. I think that you get that feeling when you go into games from the fan base on Twitter and whatnot that everyone's a little bit hesitant and a little bit scared at any game that TC goes into now. But then there's this outrage when they fall in the polls. And so I don't know how well those two mesh because, eye test, TCU hasn't done as well as Baylor or some of these other schools that have gotten ranked above them because of the defense. But they've gotten the job done. So.
The bend don't break, and Gary Patterson, of course, gets the benefit of the doubt. Looking forward, and obviously West Virginia is going to provide a tough test, and I will get to your prediction here in a minute. But looking forward, I feel like there are three, depending on how you feel about Oklahoma State. But there's 2 games that are super intriguing to me because of what's happened recently. Going to Norman and playing Oklahoma, a suddenly just angry Oklahoma team, and then obviously the day after Thanksgiving or the night after Thanksgiving at home against a Baylor team that suddenly doesn't have their quarterback. Is the Baylor game still the tougher game, or is going to Norman, do you think, tougher?
I would even argue going to Stillwater.
Yeah.
2 weeks before that might that could easily, if you're looking for a stumbling block, that could easily be the stumbling block. TCU has not played well in the past handful of years, past 3 years in the Big 12 in Stillwater, and that is a team that certainly could exploit TCU's inexperienced defense a little bit. I think if you're trying to get excited for one of these games, I just don't think you can necessarily get excited for that Baylor game as far as TCU's standpoint before they get through that Oklahoma gauntlet, because but the Big 12 is so hard to look at this year, because going up into this point, I thought that they're not going to get out of Norman. They're not going to get out of Norman with a win. But then you see what Texas does to Oklahoma a week after just getting thrashed by TCU in Fort Worth, and you think, well, there is a weakness here. Someone can do it. Someone who doesn't have the same kind of talent that TCU can do it. So I still think it's going to be extremely tough to get out of Norman. But here's the deal. If you look back at it, TCU has a history of going in with a team that people might have thought was lesser and taking care of business in Norman. They don't really have that history in Stillwater.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I might be leaning a little bit more towards Stillwater being the one.
Interesting. He's Travis L. Brown. Follow him on Twitter at Travis_L_Brown. One last question before we let you go. Your prediction for tonight, West Virginia, TCU. What do you got?
You can't have it just seems like you can't have a West Virginia TCU game without it coming down to the
very end. You can't have like a normal 38-27 game.
No.
It's going to be something
There's going to be like 4 targeting penalties and random rainstorm and just
it's the beginning of Halloween weekend.
Exactly.
Here we
There's
go.
a blackout.
Yeah.
I mean, everything crazy happens in a blackout. So, it's going to come down to the wire. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. It's going to come down to that team that has the ball last. Simply from what I said earlier, I'm going to give the edge to TCU because no one has proven that they can stop Trayvon Boykin and Josh Doxson when they have that ball at the end of the game and they have to pick up that first down or they have to get the ball into the end zone to score that game winner, and then give a little bit of a tip of cap to the kicker Jaden Overcrome, who took care of business last year and is a really, really good kicker from distance. So I think it's going to be close. I think that final score is going to come from TCU.
I think if the game were in Morgantown, I think this would have a different feel. But I think being at home on a Thursday night in front of what should be a pretty raucous Amon G. Carter Stadium, I do think the TCU comes away with the win.
The other thing, too, we talk about joking, lots of targeting penalties and shenanigans. Expect a lot, possibly, of trick plays, going for it on fourth down, fake punts, because both teams have had a bye week, and both of these offensive we have Dana on West Virginia side and Cumbie and Meacham. They like to pull out a little bit of trickeration, and with a week and a half to plan it, expect it.
There's going to be something crazy going on. He's Travis L. Brown, the 4-Star Telegram. Follow him on Twitter at Travis_L_Brown, and check out his fine work at star-telegram.com, right?
Yep, that's it.
Got it. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate you, bud.